Now we're going to take a look at creating an apartment from a floor plan. And this floor plan is included in the content folder. If we hit D on the keyboard to bring up our display options, and I've already loaded this picture into our image editor, and we can take a look at it by double-clicking. And we can see just an overall basic floor plan. So let's load it in. Go back to our display options, and under backdrop, we're going to have top left selected, which is going to be our top viewport. And we want to select our image. I'm going to turn our image resolution up all the way. And if we zoom in, let's take a look at our floor plan. One thing I need to do is adjust the brightness and contrast. It's going to be very difficult to see the polygons and the lines we're creating if the floor plan is in this color. So I am going to decrease our contrast all the way, and also our brightness, which is going to just remain our black lines with a little bit of a lighter gray where the white is. If you need to, you can always just change your image in an image editing program to get it to exactly the right colors, and maybe reduce brightness in the image editing program. And then once you get into Lightwave, it'll be a lot easier. Plus, we can also make options within our image editor. You can see we have a brightness and contrast in here as well. So if I start to reduce the brightness and contrast within here, then the display settings will also be taken into account. I'm just going to leave it at the default because we should be able to see our lines no problem. But one thing we need to take a look at is sizing everything and getting the image so it's the correct size. And now this floor plan is in feet, so we need to change this from metric units to English. So we are going to go back to the display options. We're going to go to units, and I'm going to change this to English. Close out of that. Hit A on the keyboard, which will refresh. And now we really need to scale this image up. Hit D on the keyboard. We want to go to our backdrop. We need to change its size. So I'm going to change this from 1 just to 20 at first. And we want to take a look. And basically the best thing to look for in this specific plan is one of these rooms with even numbers, if possible. In this case, we're actually lucky enough to have one room that is 14 feet by 10 feet. And we also have another one that's 7 by 8. So we can use these rooms as a reference and just match up our scales. And the reason we really want to do that is because a lot of our presets are based on scale, and it would be a lot easier to just get it all done right away rather than to go in later and have to scale up all your objects, especially because all the default values while you're actually working within your object. Currently this is too large, so we're going to go back, and we just need to find the correct option. Let's do 19 feet this time. Another thing we need to make sure we do is include the foot number or the foot sign afterwards, because if we just push enter with a regular value, currently right now it's going to still stay in sort of metric and then convert it. So just remember to put the foot sign and the inches sign if needed. So we need to scale this up a little bit. We'll do 30 feet. Which is not nearly enough. Go up to 50. So we can bring this up to, let's try 60. And it looks like 61 feet and 6 inches should be alright. I just want to reposition our image a little just to make sure it is as close as we can possibly get it. So basically what I want to do is just move our walls so that the overall grid is in the inside. And if we set the value to negative 3.0625 inches for our other axis, it seems to fit in really well. We do have a little bit of a gap. Maybe we could adjust that just a little bit more. But overall, this should give us a very good start. I'm going to start out by taking a look at the wall thickness. And we could just use the grid for this, which is going to be the best method. And standard walls are usually 4 9/16 of an inch. So we can basically use that for our setting as our wall thickness. Now we want to go to our snap panel, and we're going to turn on angle snap at 90 degrees. And this will prevent us from creating any walls that are not with 90-degree angles. So we're going to go to the wall tool. I'm going to hit the numeric, pull up our options, and we just want to change our offset. And we want to change our offset to 4 feet. And I'm just going to type 0.6 to make it easier. And we can also see on the floor plan that our height is going to be 9 feet. So we can change our height to 9 feet. And we're going to leave our low at 0 feet. Now we can close this out and start drawing out our walls. So we're going to click on our first point, right in the corner. And I made quite a large mistake. If we go back to the numeric, we want to make sure that that is 4.7 inches and not feet. So I'm just going to move along the wall, and we can just click out our outside, and I'm just going to zoom out so we can see a bit more. Now some of our exterior walls might be larger than our standard wall, but for the most part, this will give us a good idea. So we're just focusing on those outside walls. And we want to move these into place if needed. And since we are on an angle snap, we don't have to worry about points not lining up. And we'll just end that. I'm going to hit 0 on the keyboard and the number pad, just so we can take a look with our height. And that looks pretty good. So we have our outside walls done. You can hit the space bar. And if we go back into our top view, actually switching views has reset our image. So one thing to keep in mind is I set that when we were in full screen. And typically, sometimes when you do that, once you switch back to 4 views, it will remove your image. So we want to go back to our display options. and just reset the image the way it was. And now everything is back in place, and we can start adding our other walls. So I'm going to go to our snap panel and just make sure that near is on. And if we need to adjust the image a little more, we can, but we have the base outer wall, so we can usually just eyeball it at this point. I'm going to go back to our wall tool, and we can just start drawing out the inside walls. And since we have near on, we can just snap to those other walls. And all we need to do is just go through and create each of these different sections. And this is something that takes the longest out of almost everything in designing the model. If you're trying to be precise. I'm going to bring that back up full view. And we just want to pull this out so it is correct. Or as close to it as we can get, because we were zooming in and out, so it sort of changes the way our snapping works. So for this specific wall, I'm just going to leave that right now and just manually edit the points. So we just want to end the tool, and we're just going to select those points, and I'm going to use Move Snap and just select the right side of points, and then we can snap that to the end, and all of our points will move. So now we are adjusted correctly, and our wall is placed in the correct position. You also notice that we have a plumbing wall right here, and typically those are about 2 inches thicker. So we could either go in there and manually create that extra line, or we could just add another wall or remove that section. And we just want to create all of these different sections. And then we'll add the doors. And then our windows. And I'm just going to go ahead and finish up the rest of these walls, and then we'll start working on the rest of the items. And now you can see we have all of our walls created, and the major part of the floor plan all finished. So what we can easily do now is, by using the windows and door tools, just go in and specify exactly where we want everything to be. And in cases like this, it's usually a good idea to just set up an object first if you have certain designs in mind, and just set up all your trim and all that for your different doors, and then you can add them, and then your windows as well, to make sure they match, and just kind of have that done beforehand. I'm just going to use the presets for now, and that should work out okay. So I'm going to go and select door. I'm going to hit N to open up our numeric panel, and we can select which door we'd like to use. I'm just going to start out with just our first one. Our shape is called D1 wall, 200 millimeter. And then what we can do is just click and our perspective view to place our door. And then we also want to make sure we're on fixed, and I'm just going to move it up, and we can grab our bottom handle and snap that with near snapping on to the bottom. And then if we need to, we can adjust our door to fit up with our floor plan. And if you notice, we have our handle actually facing the wrong way. But what we can easily do is just once our doors are created, we can just go ahead and rotate those around so that they're facing the correct direction. And what I might recommend you do before you tackle a project like this is if you are going to have different doors, you might want to create one of each facing different directions so that you don't have to go around and rotate those around when you're done. And that way you can just select your opposite shaped door so that it's facing the correct direction. And now we can move over and take a look at where our other doors are going to go. And all we got to do is just click in the perspective view, right mouse click first to end that first door, and click again, and then making sure fixed is on, we can grab that bottom part and just snap to the near and position it in place. And then we could just go around and add all of our doors. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish that up, and then we'll get started on the windows.